World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, engulfed the globe from 1939 to 1945. Millions perished, nations were shattered, the world was forever changed. This war still casts a long shadow over us today. The echoes of this global conflict remind us of the fragility of peace. The stories of heroism, sacrifice, and resilience continue to inspire, but so do the stark reminders of humanity's capacity for cruelty. Understanding the origins of World War II is crucial. By unraveling this conflict, we can learn and strive to prevent such horrors again. The lessons of World War II are as urgent and relevant as ever. We must never forget the sacrifices made by those who fought for freedom. We owe it to them and to ourselves to understand how this war came to be. By exploring the events that led to World War II, we honor the memory of those who perished. Only through understanding can we hope to prevent history from repeating itself. The seeds of World War II were sown in the aftermath of the First World War. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, ended the war but sowed resentment. Germany faced harsh penalties, including territorial losses and reparations. The Great Depression brought unemployment and social unrest. Extremist ideologies thrived, especially in Germany, Italy, and Japan. Hitler exploited discontent, promising to restore German pride. The League of Nations failed to prevent conflict. Aggressive powers grew bolder, pushing the world to the brink of war. Adolf Hitler's path to becoming a dictator was shaped by a complex interplay of personal experiences and historical forces. Born in Austria in 1889, Hitler had an unhappy and unstable childhood. His father, a strict and authoritarian customs official, instilled in him a deep sense of resentment towards authority. Hitler's early aspirations to become an artist were met with failure. He was rejected twice by the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. This rejection fueled his feelings of inadequacy and resentment. Adrift and disillusioned, Hitler drifted to Vienna, where he was exposed to the city's underbelly of poverty, anti-Semitism, and political extremism. The bustling metropolis of Vienna, a melting pot of cultures and ideologies, would have a profound impact on the young Hitler. He became an avid reader of political pamphlets and newspapers, immersing himself in the rhetoric of nationalism, anti-Semitism, and pan-Germanism. These ideologies, espousing the superiority of the German race and blaming Jews for Germany's problems, resonated with Hitler's own prejudices and frustrations. He came to see Jews as a threat to German purity and a scapegoat for the country's ills. This poisonous ideology would later form the cornerstone of Nazi ideology. Section 4. A misunderstood leader. Hitler's rise to power was neither inevitable nor accidental. It was the result of a calculated strategy to exploit Germany's vulnerabilities. He masterfully used his charisma and oratory skills to captivate audiences. His speeches, filled with nationalist fervor and promises of a glorious future, resonated with a population desperate for a strong leader. The Nazi Party, once a fringe group, gradually gained support. The economic crisis of the early 1930s played into their hands. People, desperate for solutions, were drawn to Hitler's promises of economic recovery and national renewal. In 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany, marking a turning point in German history. He wasted no time consolidating his power and transforming Germany into a totalitarian state. Hitler's regime systematically dismantled democratic institutions. He suppressed all opposition, ruthlessly crushing any dissent. Freedom of speech, press, and assembly were abolished. The Nazis established a vast propaganda machine to control information and indoctrinate the population. Hitler's actions were calculated and deliberate. To claim that he was misunderstood is to ignore the overwhelming evidence of his intentions. His ideology, clearly articulated in his writings and speeches, left no room for ambiguity. Hitler's regime was built on a foundation of hate, racism, and violence. Section 5. War Profiteers, Gaining Wealth Amidst Destruction. While millions suffered during World War II, some individuals and companies profited from the global conflict. War profiteers, driven by greed and opportunity, exploited the insatiable demand for weapons, supplies, and raw materials. Their actions, often unethical and sometimes illegal, came at a high cost to both sides of the conflict. Companies in neutral countries as well as some within the Allied and Axis powers amassed fortunes by supplying belligerents. These wartime industries produced everything from tanks and airplanes to uniforms and ammunition. The enormous demand for their products allowed them to charge exorbitant prices, reaping huge profits. Certain individuals, through unscrupulous means, also capitalized on the war. Black marketeers thrived by exploiting shortages and rationing, selling goods on the black market at inflated prices. Corrupt officials enriched themselves through bribery, embezzlement, and war contracts. The activities of war profiteers had a corrosive effect on the war effort. They diverted resources away from essential needs, fueled inflation, and undermined public morale. While soldiers risked their lives on the front lines, these individuals lined their pockets, their greed a stark contrast to the sacrifices of so many. Section 6. The Price of Defeat. Germany's post-war reparations. The end of World War II brought about a reckoning for Germany. The victorious Allied powers, determined to prevent future German aggression, imposed heavy penalties on the defeated nation. These penalties included territorial losses, demilitarization, and substantial reparations payments. Germany's reparations were intended to compensate the Allied nations for the immense damage inflicted upon them during the war. The reparations took various forms, including dismantling of industrial equipment, transfer of intellectual property, and forced labor. The total amount of reparations demanded from Germany was substantial, placing a heavy burden on its post-war economy. The dismantling of German industry aimed to cripple its war-making potential. Factories were dismantled and machinery shipped to Allied countries as compensation. This process, while understandable from the victor's perspective, hindered Germany's economic recovery. It also led to widespread unemployment and social unrest. The reparations payments, a combination of cash, goods, and services, placed a significant strain on the German economy. The burden of these payments contributed to economic instability and social unrest in the post-war years. The issue of reparations remained a contentious one for decades, shaping Germany's relationship with its neighbors and the world. Section 7. The Enduring Legacy. World War II's impact on the world. World War II reshaped the geopolitical landscape and profoundly impacted human history. The war's end marked the Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. These superpowers divided the world into two opposing camps. The war led to the creation of the United Nations to promote international cooperation. The UN aimed to prevent future wars and promote peace. World War II spurred rapid technological advancements. Innovations in aviation, medicine, and nuclear energy had lasting impacts. The Holocaust forced the world to confront genocide and crimes against humanity. International laws were established to uphold human rights and hold perpetrators accountable.